Today we're building the most important build of Naturalis so far. A trash container. We're also building an entire staff area, which includes a staff break room, 2 garages and a trade center, but we all know that the trash container is the most important. Let the chaos begin. Alright, so today we are not building anything new. Well, don't immediately go crazy, I am going to be building things. It just means that we're not going to be building any new styles, because the staff area of Naturalis is already crazy enough as it is, because I don't know how to build function first, which is realistic for staff areas to be basically concrete boxes and just be all about function, because none of the guests are going to see it. So you can build just completely functional buildings. That's not how I build. I want to build fancy buildings. Naturalis doesn't really have a limit to its budget, so it can build these really fancy buildings, but it does mean that if I was going to go completely wild, the staff area would be completely chaotic. And the least I can do with all of these builds is to kind of make them cohesive. So the entire idea of all of the buildings that we're going to be building today is to pick from the styles of the buildings that are already in the staff area, which allows me to pick from 3 buildings, which is the giant warehouse and the caracal and porcupine habitat buildings. So the build that we're starting off with, which let me know in the comments below what this building is actually called, because I always call this the staff building, even though it's like the staff break room. I don't know what the actual name is, because I don't think it's actually called a break room, but it's definitely not just called staff building. So let me know down below in the comments what it's actually called, because I constantly forget what this building is actually called. But as you can probably see, it takes the idea or the style from the nearby porcupine habitat building and the warehouse. The porcupine habitat you can see in the roof with the wooden roof. It's just not attached to the ground like the porcupine building is. And then the warehouse you can kind of see in the plastic sheets covering the roof. Yes, that's probably plastic. It's probably not going to be a fancy material. It's probably plastic, just to make it look a little bit nicer. This build, I was so happy in a way with it, because in the rest of Naturalis, if I ever do build for the staff, which is rare, maybe this is the reason why PD, the murderous psychopath mascot, went crazy. He just couldn't find a break room anywhere close to him. But when I build for the staff, I usually try and get the smallest version of the staff buildings, because those are very easily blended into the environment. But here it was just yeah, this is a staff area. I can finally use the big staff break room. Again, let me know down below in the comments what's actually called, because it's not called that, but I forget the name constantly. It was great to finally be able to build for that build, or for that size of building. And it was also just, this is a big problem with the staff area that I faced when trying to find the correct layout of the area. I didn't want it to become a asphalt desert. That's not the correct term, but I basically just didn't want it to be this open area just completely filled with asphalt. So I wanted to kind of break the area up into smaller areas. So that's why the staff room, or the staff break room, has this giant wall. Also, it just looks pretty because it really just gives the building a clear boundary of where it ends and such. It makes it so that the road into the staff area also just feels a little bit more compact, which I also always like. I usually don't really like big open spaces. Just I really like the small, more compact spaces, which you might have noticed in just how Naturalis is laid out sometimes. Yeah, the giant wall was just nice, and also you can actually see the staff area from the penguin habitat. So as a guest, you can see this area, you can see this building, and you can see the giant wall separating the staff area from the African area. So it was already alright, you're going to see one massive wall. Let's add another, because why not? And yes, you would probably realistically try to hide your staff area. So you would put trees in front of them, or something else that kind of blocks the view. You might even just put a wall in front of it and put some decoration on the wall, mural or something to hide the staff area. I was just like, let's just fully embrace that you're going to see the staff area and just make it like an interesting skyline. But then we're building probably the most function first building right after that giant wall. And that's the trade center. This is just a brick box, basically. I didn't want the staff or the trade center to be really just like in your face or be really fancy. I just wanted it to just be there. For some reason, all that I think about when I look at this building is this looks like a toilet. I don't know why. Like, it looks like a toilet or like some kind of changing room for some reason. I don't know why I constantly think that. Also, this roof is probably the most realistic because to hide that these buildings for the staff or the staff facilities are always 4 meters high, which is kind of weird because almost none of, like, realistically, almost no buildings have like 4 meter high stories. That's just like, it's kind of weird. Usually 3 meters is more realistic. So I need to hide that it's 4 meters high. So I just made it into a giant air conditioning unit. But then I actually, like, this is just a thing throughout this entire video where I just go completely insane trying to add some realistic touches. So I actually made it so that the giant air conditioning unit is accessible. So if there's anything that like needs to be repaired and such, there's actually a ladder that goes up there, like a walkway, because you don't want to walk on the actual air conditioning unit because you know that's just straight up plastic. Stand on it, it might hold your weight, but you don't actually want to do that because you might actually break something. And just to have like a clear path of like, this is where you're allowed on the roof and this is where you're not allowed, which is the air conditioning vents and such. And I also just put like a mechanical thing because I wanted to fill up the area. Like, that's something that I tend to do when it comes to like, oh, I have a wall here that needs to have something. Yeah, let's put an electrical box there. Maybe put like a fire hydrant there. And that's it. That's where my ideas go for like, oh, let's spruce up this wall. Fire hydrant, electrical box. This is an idea that I've been toying with. I want to put like posters in. Posters of like, is it actually called posters in English? Like, it's called posters in Dutch, but it's like, I think it's called posters. Yeah, how do you explain that in English if you don't know if you actually have the correct English word for it? But you know, just the paper thing or the paper glued to the wall with like messages of like, keep on a helmet in this area to be safe, or I don't know, something along those lines of like safety measures and such. I think it's called a poster. But this is also sometimes the thing when it comes to English with me. It's just like, I start questioning if I have the right word, and then I completely just go into this spiral of like making myself more and more insecure about if I actually have the correct word. So it might be poster, might not be. I don't know anymore. I don't know a lot of things. That's also just a thing. Like, I learned English through video games and YouTube. I am horrified if anyone is watching me and somewhat learning English through me because my sentences are never grammatically correct. I will sometimes just throw in a completely random word that just doesn't make any sense. So like, if anyone here is like somewhat, well, not actively learning English through my videos, but it's like picking up words from my videos, I just feel bad for them because I will make you a mess. This is probably one of the biggest regrets when what we're building right now, because I built this staff vehicle, but I built it at 3 AM, which means that my brain was just not on. And I recorded like 15 minutes of me building it. It took 3 hours to build that vehicle because I never built a vehicle before. Anyone who builds a vehicle in Plant Zoo or builds like a car or like a truck, all of those are vehicles, but I, for some reason, wanted to make that clear. But anyone who builds those in Plant Zoo, kudos to you. Because I used a golf cart as a template to like build on top of. Then I realized, oh, this is not going to work. So I just put the golf cart in Naturalis. I picked up one of those forklifts and just put those next to each other and just built my own car next to it. So just having those kind of like inspiration pictures on like your second screen. But then just in Plant Zoo, just so that I knew like, oh, these pieces I can use and these pieces would work. and this is kind of like the structure of it. But yeah, anyone who builds cars or vehicles in Plant Zoo, kudos. I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, I did, but I wasn't happy. I was very delusional when I thought like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to do this. Yeah, Poison, you were very much... I mean, it's a good looking vehicle at the end of the day. I don't want to do it again though. Like sometimes like you're just going to have to accept it. Like, yeah, I'm not good at this. So let's just focus on other points that I am good at, which is building a car lift for some reason. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you guys the actual vehicle being built, but I can show you guys the lift being built because we're going to be building a garage. Because Naturalis it's just that extreme that their vehicles ever break down or need repairs, they don't have to send them off to a garage, which usually or probably most zoos would do. They would have like a contact or contract with, let's say, a local garage to get their vehicles repaired. No, Naturalis does all of that in-house. They have their own garage. And yes, this entire build or the entire garage build was meant to be a workshop build. I never used that building because I play in Sandbox, and I think the workshop build, well, you research new pieces in it. I think I have never touched franchise mode after Plant Zoo came out. I immediately went to Sandbox. So I have never used the workshop build, but I wanted to build something for it. So then, of course, garage, which is going to be confusing later on because this is a like mechanical, like repair garage. And then I built another garage, which is just for storing the vehicles. So that's probably going to get confusing. This is the great thing about the internet. Yeah, everything can be found there. So when I'm building, let's say, the appliances for the Sandcat shack, the restaurant that we built, or the car lift, I can actually just look up a shop that sells these things and just look up the pictures and see like, oh, this is how those things are built. Yeah, I probably should have tried that also with a lift. Now that I think about it, sometimes I have my smart moments and look up like, oh yeah, there are shops there that just sell these things and they show images and they might even show dimensions. So you might actually build it to scale. And then sometimes it's completely flat brain and I just think, or smooth brain and just think, yeah, I'm just going to guess what this looks like. And there's probably like, if you look online, you can find like how a lift works and how it like operates and how you would be able to build it in Plant Zoo. But yeah, when it came to that lift, I just guessed. But with this car lift, I didn't have to guess. So everything that you see on that car lift is realistic. Even down to the, well, it's not, in Plant Zoo, it's not a paper sticker or like a warning sticker of like, don't do this or do this and such. Like you will always have those on these things because the chance of things going wrong will have disastrous consequences when it comes to like a car lift. Like just imagine being a mechanic and the car lift for some reason malfunctions and then the car just gets dropped on you or something like that, or just something goes wrong. So there's always warning stickers and such, and I think that's the big red button, is just like to shut it off immediately if things go wrong. But yeah, that's completely realistic because I actually looked up the real thing and built it off of reference from that. I don't know how I actually managed to find all the pieces. Like, so, again, sometimes I know Planet Zoo in and out, and sometimes I'm just completely smooth brain and just guess how things are working. Anyways, so when it came to the garage, as I said, this was supposed to be the building for the workshop. As I also said, for Naturalis, yeah, it's not going to be a workshop because functionally, Planet Zoo game mechanics wise, a workshop in Naturalis wouldn't make any sense because I have all of the pieces researched and such because it's Sandbox. But I did make it so that you can easily change out the build or the actual staff facility. So if I'm able to put this garage on the workshop, you can easily just change it out and put the workshop in there. I might actually do that myself so that you know what building is supposed to be in there, but you can easily just change it out based on what you actually need. Actually, when it comes to all of the buildings so far that are functional, because the final garage is not, it's just a storage area for actual vehicles. But yeah, that's just something I always like to do. I just like to hide the actual buildings or facilities completely because like I want to make my own doors and such. I don't want to be just bound to the doors that Frontier made when they made the models. I just want to build my own stuff. So yeah, you can just change all of the facilities that are in there. You can actually make like the staff break room and make it into like the veterinarian center for you if you want that. If I am able, or if I don't forget to put it on the workshop. Because even if I build things that are like made in with the workshop in mind, I sometimes still forget. To the actual cluttering of the garage. So quite a few things I made myself, but there's also things that I got off the workshop, which are the cardboard boxes and some of the other like smaller stuff, like I don't know what you actually call it. It's like this, like you have the forklift, which is like the big mechanical car-like thing. And then you have the smaller one, which you just kind of put at an angle and it's just like hand-driven. I don't know what you actually call it. It's blue. It has handlebars. I don't know. But like there's some things that I actually got from the workshop because Shift C is an amazing builder when it comes, well, just in general, but especially when it comes to the clutter pieces. If you want clutter pieces for your staff area, look up Shift C's warehouse clutter blueprint because it just adds so much, such as the cardboard boxes. You can see me just place the blueprint in and just pick out the pieces that I want. And it's just amazing. I'm probably going to put like a link to the blueprint in the description. It's just, the cardboard boxes are amazing. I don't know how he built them. If he used those like leather, like the flat leather pieces that I sometimes, or I've started using to make like the signs and such, or like warning stickers on the car lift. If he used those, I feel bad because it probably took a lot of time because those things are finicky sometimes. Now we are building the garage, or the second garage. The first one was functional, was supposed to be the workshop. In Naturalis though, it's just to keep her hot because I wanted the stuff to actually go in there. And with a workshop, it would just be an empty building because the staff would not use it. I wanted to see the stuff go in there, but this garage is completely non-functional. It's just there to store the vehicles. I also might put the vehicles on the workshop because, yeah, you do have like the staff vehicles that Frontier made. I think those are like this kind of safari-like cars. Those are really like, you either really like them or you just never seem to be able to find a use for them. I'm in the latter category because for Naturalis, it just didn't seem like it would be like a right fit to have like safari-like vehicles just roaming the zoo. It felt like they would have like a very fancy vehicle, which now they have. And also, yes, they also have like a storage bin on the backside. And I did really like look up which decals I could use to make blood spatters out of. Eventually, I'm going to just make a complete murder mystery in Naturalis and just have like a completely just story just built out of visual things in Naturalis. Nothing written down or something, just blood spatters and such and creepy looking shit because I like creepy looking shit. Anyways, back to the actual build. So I don't think that this garage holds all of the vehicles because it can only hold 3. I think this garage was probably just built because Naturalis grew and they had this space left over and they needed like a quick building for some vehicles. So there's 3 vehicles in here. There's a little building attached to it, which is probably like a small kind of office because, of course, these vehicles would be pretty expensive. So you want to keep those safe. So there's probably like some kind of like security office right next to it because you know what's going to happen. At least one person is eventually going to try and steal something because that's always going to happen. Like there's always someone who wants to steal something from someone or something. So they would probably have these vehicles just under lock and key if they are not being used. So yeah, also I just thought that having just a brick box wouldn't feel right here. So I needed to break off the box by adding a smaller box, which is usually how I work. If I have a box and I need to break it up, I just add smaller boxes to it. I also do that in The Sims actually. Like I recently started playing The Sims again and I noticed that like, oh yeah, I want to break up this slide. Let's add a small box. That's just it. And now we are to the most important build, the trash container. I don't know if that's like the right word for it actually. A trash container or trash, like it's not a can and it's also not really a bin. So trash container, I think. But yeah, I actually made two trash containers. I made an American style one or international style one. But then I realized Naturalis is supposed to be a Dutch zoo. Of course, when it comes to the videos and probably any of the signs that I would make for Naturalis, it would be in English because all of, well, basically my entire YouTube channel is in English. So it wouldn't, like, I don't know, it just wouldn't make sense to now suddenly start saying things in Dutch. But yeah. I made a completely like American style trash container. I actually made that during a stream. Well, not my stream because of course I don't stream. I sometimes want to and then I get tired or distracted because I'm a squirrel. Usually it's the latter. I will have like this idea of like, oh, I could stream this because it doesn't include any terrain modifying and such. And then I start building it and forget to stream. That has happened a lot of times. Actually, the staff room that we started off with, I was actually planning to stream building that. And then I just completely forgot because I just zoned out while building it. But yeah, when it came to the trash container, first I made like the American style one, which is really just like this big container. But we don't really have those in the Netherlands. Like, when I think of like the trash, what is it? The vehicles, trash, garbage trucks. I don't think they even have like the necessary cranes, hooks or something to lift one of those like a big American style containers up. I'm saying American style because that's my biggest referential point. They're probably also used in other places around the world, but I think I know for sure that they are used in the US. But in the Netherlands, we don't really have those. So I actually, again, looked up on a website where you can buy these things, looked up a Dutch-style trash container, and this was what I found. I also wanted it to be able to open, which I don't think worked out in the end. But yeah, this is again murder mystery. I wanted to put a body in there because, of course, PD is going to be a clean red panda. If he kills someone and chops their body up in a million different pieces, he is at least not going to litter. Like, he has standards. He's a murderous red panda mascot who will kill you if you are in Naturalis after closing, or basically after the sun has gone down. He will murder you, he will dismember you, he will just completely butcher you, but he will not litter. That's the good point. Like, see, I make my villains very three-dimensional. He's not just a murderous psychopath, he also doesn't like littering. So if you litter and he finds you in Naturalis after dark, you are dead. But yeah, anyway, so couldn't make it so that the trash container would actually be able to open just because of the pieces that I used. But also, the pieces that I use are actually lights, which work weirdly because you can turn them off, but you have to reload the game for them to actually be off. Because if you turn them off, there's still a faint glow to them. But if you reload the game with the lights turned off, then they are actually off. So that's kind of a weird thing about these ones. So if I place these on the workshop and you get them and like place them in your zoo, you have to reload the save after placing them. Otherwise you will just have disco trash containers. But it's the only piece that was like the right size and the right thickness and everything. But yeah, the first time that you place them, they will be disco containers, sadly. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. If you don't hit the like button, PD the red murderous mascot squirrel will, well, squirrel not, red panda. Squirrels are not murderous. He will just conquer the world. That's a secret. Anyways, yeah, if you don't hit the like button, Repeaty will find you. If you don't hit the subscribe button, no chicken nuggets for you. That's all. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye-bye.